Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to the Pipe Farthing. I'm still out here, actually, after recording my last video. If you didn't watch that one, it's a little bit longer, so you may not have. I'm enjoying out of this rusticated Bing, his favorite from Savinelli, my own pipe to my own blend. It's my my fourth blend. It's called Sunday Night Sledding, and I'll talk about that once I know for a fact that I've got it where I want it. But in this video, let's talk about something I think is relevant right now. Well, it's always relevant. But anyway, I came home from Wisconsin yesterday. I got home at 3 o'clock. I went to Mass last night. And so I spent this morning in the Word, in the written Word, and was reading 1 Corinthians. And in chapter 1, he's talking about there's a lot of issues going on in the Corinthians. They're just not mature in the faith. You know, Paul spent like a year and a half with them, and he left some of his co-workers there, Timothy, and can't think of the other one off the top of my head. Anyway, he writes this a little bit after that, and they are struggling to mature in the faith. They're still struggling with a lot of sexual immorality and other issues of the flesh, and then a lot of let's say like personality conflicts, perhaps. They are attaching themselves to different people rather than Jesus Christ. And that's causing division and dissension amongst them. And Paul says this line in verse 25 of chapter 1, "For the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men." That is such a profound truth. And one that I think it's easy for us to say, like, yeah, amen to that. You know, glory to God, and we need Him, and He will direct us and He will lead us. But how many of us actually do that? This is a small community of Christians. The church here is rather small still. Probably, I don't know if it's much more than 100 people, as some scholars have talked about at this time. And they seem to be meeting in a couple little house churches at the time. And there's a lot of, again, dissension and disagreement and competition going on between them. And so Paul is saying, stop seeking for the spiritual gifts to build you up, to be self-interested, and stop looking for the ways of the world to define you. And there's a lot more going on here, but that's what I want to focus on. It's easy for us to read a passage like this, "The foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men," and to say, absolutely, like we believe in Jesus because He leads us and all this stuff. But how many of us live this out? This is such a challenge for us. And we got in a discussion in Wisconsin. We're talking about hope and hopelessness. And there's this beautiful quote by G.K. Chesterton talking about we don't actually practice the virtue of hope until we actually experience hopelessness. Okay? When we just hope and when everything is going well, that's not really the virtue of hope. Okay? It's only in those moments that we experience hopelessness that we can actually grow in the virtue of hope. And you might say, well, wait, but if I'm practicing hope, then I'm not hopeless. Let's think about this for a second. I'm always relying on God. I'm not relying on men. Okay, maybe in your good days you are. But what about those moments in your day? Those moments of your day when you say, I'll never change. Or I'll never be heard. Or we got to do something about this to fix it. Right? All of these kind of statements, these identity lies, these vows, and these human-driven kind of passion statements, which we do have to do stuff. We do have to participate. We do have to engage in this world. But then we leave it up to God. And we keep seeking His wisdom. And I don't know if I've talked about this in one of these videos before, but I think a great place where we see this is in the movie Hacksaw Ridge. And the real life character, I think they played up this part very well of his character as far as I can tell from what I've read. Desmond Doss is the main character, and he is a conscientious objector in World War II. He doesn't want to hold a rifle. He doesn't want to kill anybody. So he wants to go in as a combat medic. And he goes through just hell going through boot camp and just ridiculed for being a coward and all this sort of thing. And but they're up on this ridge, Hacksaw Ridge. You know, he's in the Pacific Front, which is like freaking D-Day over and over again for these guys. And he is a combat medic, refuses to carry a rifle. And on that ridge alone, I think he is given credit for saving over 100 soldiers, including some Japanese, who, from my understanding, don't actually make it much farther than him saving them, which is understandable, but kind of tragic. It is tragic. But what Desmond does through this entire video, or this film, and I think he did in real life, Lord, what do you want me to do right now? Like right now, what do you want me to do? He's on this ridge. In the movie, they portray it as everyone else leaves the ridge, they retreat, and he's kind of like the last man up there. But he knows there's still something for him to do, and he's like, God, why aren't you hearing me? Why wouldn't you tell me what to do? Like, he is in the most hopeless situation. People being slaughtered. I mean, literally just brutally slaughtered up on this ridge. And he's praying like, Lord, what do you want me to do? Why don't you talk to me? And then he hears the soldier, help, help. He hears the voice of God in that soldier crying for help. Or God opens up his heart. This is what I want. You're here right now, Desmond. This is what I need you to do. You're a medic. Go save these people. Okay. He gets injured himself in this campaign up on the ridge as well. And but again, he stays. I think he's credited with like 100 soldiers from that battle. And I don't know if it's from that battle or along maybe the stretch of some of the other battles. I forget. But regardless, he was such a good demonstration of he experienced immense hopelessness. Like, Lord, what am I even doing here? Like, what do you have me doing? He felt called to enlist. He felt called to be a combat medic. He felt called to not carry a rifle. Lord, this is a freaking slaughterhouse. Like, why do you have me here? That's hopelessness. But he hopes because he's crying out to God. Why? Why? What? He's like Habakkuk. Why are you letting me see all this bad around me? What are you doing, Lord? This doesn't glorify you or your name. Where are you in this? And then God speaks to him. God speaks to Desmond, right? How often do we, in the midst of not hearing him, in the midst of hopelessness, and again, big picture, macro level, we might have hope or think we have hope or demonstrate hope in the most basic things. But when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, to this circumstance, to this family event, to this task I have to do, and we say things like, I'll never change. I'll never get good at this. I always mess up. I'll never be loved by this person. I'll never be good enough. Those are moments of hopelessness. And what we do oftentimes in those moments is it's so often that we don't turn to God to heal those things in us, to correct those things within us. We try to do it on our own. And so what we get is broken people doing broken things to other broken people who then receive that in a broken way from a broken person, which feeds their own brokenness. And you see this kind of this reciprocity of brokenness that goes on. The foolishness of God is wiser than men. Oftentimes the way through something seems like folly. It seems foolish. It seems embarrassing. It requires vulnerability. It requires maybe us eating some crow and apologizing, or just saying, I struggle here. Can you help me? Or I'm sorry for those times that I feel like I'm not loved by you and so I get cold. I feel like those times that I feel like I'll never be good enough, so I try to act like the smartest person in the room, and really, I just make myself to be an ass. Or in the bigger thing right now, I mean, I'm not really following it. This is not a political video, so don't take it. It's just an example. Right now, it's like the country's either going, hoorah, or oh my gosh, white supremacy. Okay? Like, we've turned politics into religion. Politics have their place. They're needed in society. Okay? There's a role for politics to play. But politics must follow the Lord. And I'm not saying no political statement there. Politics is not God. Politics is not religion. Politics has its place. But right now, it's like we're picking sides and we put our blinders on of, oh, they're perfect, they're doing no wrong, and we find a reason to justify everything. Or they're always wrong and they're not doing anything right because they're the white supremacist group. You know, it's like we put this line in the sand and we stop thinking. Because we're trying to figure out on our own what to do. We're trying to take control of the situation. Rather than say, in all things, the path that God has charted for us is the right path. No matter how hard it's going to be, no matter how embarrassing it's going to be, no matter how silly it seems, it's the right way. And so we need to listen on a macro level. We need to follow the commandments. We need to follow the Beatitudes. We need to follow the church's moral teaching, right? On marriage, on human dignity, on the sanctity of life, on loving our neighbor, and loving that person, but not tolerating sin, but building a relationship with people so that we can draw them in, okay? Rather than just making everything a political hoorah or screaming at the top of our lungs, heresy or whatever, right? So that's the macro level. And on the daily level, where do I struggle? And do I try to fix it on my own? Because I'm never going to change, it's never going to change. Or do I cry out to God, where are you in this? And what do you want from me in this? So I think a good reminder today from St. Paul, the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'll see you guys on the next one. God bless you all. Take care.